Hola, hola desde Colombia. Bienvenido a este nuevo episodio. Hello from Colombia and welcome. So, if you can understand Spanish but still feel stuck when it's time to speak, let me tell you that you are not alone. Most learners don't need more vocabulary or more grammar. They need to learn how to actually use the Spanish they already know in real conversations with real people. And that's exactly what we do inside Smart Spanish Immersion, a structured, real life approach to help you think, react, and connect in Spanish without overthinking or feeling overwhelmed. And if you're curious about joining, you'll find a link to the program in the description of this episode. Okay, ¿estás listo? Felicitaciones! So you made it through your first 24 hours in a Spanish speaking country. You arrived, you figured out transportation, you had your first interactions. Maybe it felt messy, but you survived, sobreviviste. And now comes the next phase. Actually, living here. Vas a vivir aquí. Because now it's not just about reacting in the moment, it's about handling everyday life, la vida diaria o la vida cotidiana. And this includes finding a place to live, buying what you need, asking for services, solving small problems every single day. And this is where many learners realize something surprising. Basic Spanish is not enough. No es suficiente. Not because you don't know the words, but because real life requires something deeper. Let's take a simple situation. You're looking for an apartment. You walk in, you like the place, and now you need to ask questions. Not just, what is this? Or how much? You need to ask clearly, naturally, and with confidence. And maybe all you can say at first is, este lugar incluye servicios. ¿Qué incluye la cuota de arrendamiento? ¿Incluye la administración? It's simple, but it opens the conversation. Now, imagine you go to a local store. You want to buy something specific, but you're not exactly sure how to ask. You hesitate. You try to translate in your head. And by the time you're ready, the moment feels awkward. But what you actually need is something like, ¿tienes esto en otra talla o color? Again, not perfect, but functional. And this is where the frustration starts to build because you understand more than you can express. You recognize words, you follow conversations, but when it's your turn to speak, it feels slow, unnatural, or incomplete. And I've seen this many times. Since 2018, I work with hundreds of students and I've supported people going through real experiences in Colombia, from moving here to participating in language immersion trips. And there's a pattern that repeats itself. People don't struggle because they don't know Spanish, they struggle because they don't know how to use it in real situations. And here's the difference. Knowing Spanish is one thing. Using Spanish to solve real life situations is something completely different. Es completamente diferente enfrentar una situación en español. No solamente por el idioma, sino por la emoción y por el matiz cultural. Because real life requires you to ask for what you need, clarify when something's not clear, adapt to how people respond, handle unexpected situations. And none of that comes from memorizing more vocabulary. Nada de esto sucede cuando memorizas vocabulario. That's why inside Smart Spanish Immersion, we focus on something different. We take real life situations like finding a place, buying what you need, or asking for services, and we turn them into a guided practice. So you're not just learning what to say, you're practicing how to say it in context, with structure, and with repetition. Because confidence doesn't come from knowing more words, it comes from knowing how to handle situations. Now, let's go back to your day. Vamos a regresar a tu día. You've already arrived. Ya llegaste. Now you're starting to build your routine. Ahora estás empezando a construir tu rutina. You go out, you interact, you solve small things. Sales, interactúas, resuelves cosas pequeñas. And every interaction becomes an opportunity, not to be perfect, but to become more comfortable. Cada interacción se convierte en una oportunidad, no para ser perfecto, sino para estar más cómodo. And sometimes the most powerful sentence you can use is not complex at all. It's something like, ¿me puedes explicar cómo funciona esto? Because that one sentence keeps the conversation going. It buys you time and it shows that you're engaged. So, if you've ever felt like, I should be able to handle this, but I don't feel confident doing it, it's not because you're missing something. It's because you haven't practiced these situations enough in a guided way. And that's exactly what we do inside Smart Spanish Immersion. We help you move from understanding to action, from knowing to using. So, in the next episode, we're going to move into something even more interesting. Because once you start handling daily life, you face a new challenge: connecting with people, having a real conversation, expressing yourself, reacting naturally. Vamos a hablar sobre cómo conectar con la gente, tener una conversación real, expresarte, reaccionar de forma natural. And that's where Spanish becomes more than a language. It becomes a way to build relationships. If you want to start using your Spanish in real life situations, not just understanding it, you can join Smart Spanish Immersion through the link in the description of this episode. I'll see you in the next one, o te veo dentro de mi programa. Chao.